Hello, my name is Hi, it's Dustin again from Dustin's Dynasty here at you today with the third, I believe, third or fourth, I don't quite remember. I think it's the third in our Being Prepared series. And today we're going to talk about floods as it is the spring season. It's the end of March, and in our state here, Pennsylvania, the last week in March is flooding awareness month, spring weather awareness month. There's different things that happen in spring, and that's going to be kind of our focus for the next couple in the series. We're focusing on things that happen at different times of the year. This is flooding is one of those things. The next will be probably tornadoes, as those tend to come in April, and March and April tend to lead into those things. And just so you know, this has been a part of a series that I've been doing because it stemmed from having a power outage earlier this month. And we're finally, we're learning how to prepare ourselves better for things when circumstances go beyond our control. And I thought of developing this series as from an autistic person's perspective. I also want to remind everyone that this is specific to the United States of America, and what if you're watching from another country or another area of the country, it may not be specifically geared to your need, but in general, this is reference to the United States. The information that I gathered is from the federal government or the state government and has been tailored for this presentation. So without further ado, let's move forward. So what is a flood? Flooding is a temporary overflow of water onto land that is normally dry. Floods are one of the most common disasters in the United States, and failing to evacuate a flooded areas or entering floodwaters can lead to injury or death. Floods may result from rain, snow, coastal storms, storm surges, and overflows of dams and water systems. They develop slowly or quickly. Flash floods come with no warning, and they cause outages, disrupt transportation, damage buildings, and can create landslides. So we must know the difference between a flood watch and a flood warning. And if you've watched been in my series, I think the last one in my series, I talked about alert systems and the variety of alert systems. But we didn't go into specific alerts because each disaster or threat to safety comes with a different set of circumstances and different kind of alerts. So in the flooding realm of the threat or the alert, we have the flood watch, and that means a flooding may occur, and you should stay alert and monitor your rivers and your streams around you. And on the weather website, they have those available. They have the different weather.gov, and into your specific area you can view the streams. And I always like to look at the stream forecast if the flooding is high, so that I know the different variation of what kind of how bad can the weather be in a heavy rain event. We had a little bit of a heavy rain event. We didn't hit flood stage with a spring rain here a couple weeks ago, but we were about a foot and a half near. So it's always very important to keep aware of what a flood looks like. And if you look at those USGS gauges, the United States Geographical Survey gauges, you can find information. You can see they'll give you a perspective of how far the water will reach from that gauge and past flood stage. So it's very important to remember yourself with that information. And then a flood warning is that it's actually flooding, and there's flooding reported either by a weather spotter or somebody of a authoritarian nature. And so when that comes in, if you're in a flood prone area, you should act at once and move to high ground. So some facts, I know not everybody drives is neurodivergent, but there may be somebody who's neurodivergent, autistic, that may be driving. So these are very important things to remember when you're driving. That 6 inches of water will reach the bottom of most passenger cars and causing a loss of control and possible stalling. A foot of water will float many vehicles. 2 feet of rushing water can carry away most vehicles, including an SUV or a pickup. Remember, turn around, don't drown. That's one of the common sayings. You'll hear it on TV. If you see flooding water, it's always best to turn around and never drive through it. Sometimes the road crews will put up barricades. It's very important that you do not drive around them or through them, in the event of a flooding event. I know it seems tempting because you might be in a hurry or you might be running behind, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. So we talked a little bit about flash flooding. That's when it happens right away. So what do you do in a flash flood? And like I said, it occurs within 6 hours of the beginning of the heavy rainfall. And here are some guidelines to help you keep safe during a flash flood. So you automatically go to higher ground. You don't want to be in that low-lying area. You want to get out of areas that are prone to flooding, such as low spots, canyons, and washes. Don't attempt to cross a flowing stream on foot because even 6 inches deep of water is moving at a high rate. It can knock you off your feet. Never drive through flooded areas or standing water. Swiftly, shallow water, it's flowing from a car it can take you right away. And if the roadbed may not be intact, so that's also important to remember. If the vehicle stalls, abandon it immediately and seek higher ground. It's just worth it to get out. Try to get out while you can and not be trapped in the vehicle. Rapid rising water can engulf the vehicle and its occupants. Be especially cautious at night when it's harder to recognize these dangers. Do not camp or park your vehicle along streams and washes, particularly in those that are of a threatening nature. And understand the difference between a flash flood watch and a flash flood warning. A flash flood watch means it may occur, just like a watch means that you need to be watching and you need to be prepared to move if it happens. And a flash flood warning, it means that it has been reported and signified and that it is happening and it could come to you. So here are some things that you can do to prepare yourself for flooding. It's very important to always take these steps. You should always have this ready. Like we talked about, there's different kits, and whether that's a sensory kit or just having things that will help you manage without power or anything else that we've been talking through in this series. It's important to get that emergency supply kit with enough provisions for a minimum of 3 days because it may not be always easy to get to you. The roads may be blocked or whatever may be. It's always important to make an emergency plan for you and your family. So always make sure that the plans that are established by your local, state, county, and state government. You should, if you live in a home and you have issues with your furnace, water heater, electric panel, it's important to keep them elevated, especially if you're in a high flood risk area. Consider installing check valves to prevent flood water from backing up into the drains. As a last resort, you can use corks or stoppers to plug showers, tubs, or basins. And if feasible, construct floodwater from barriers to stop floodwater from entering a building and seal walls in basements and waterproofing compounds. So here's some things you can do to stay safe during a flood. Evacuate immediately. If you are told to evacuate, you should go. And like I said, never drive around the barricades. I did say that about the turnaround, don't drown. Local responders use them to help people keep safe out of the flooding areas. You should contact your healthcare provider if you are sick and need medical attention. You should wait for further instructions and shelter in place if possible. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, please dial 911. Listen to your EAS, NOAA weather radio, and local alerting systems to listen for current emergency information and instructions regarding flooding. We talked about these things during the last in our series, so it's very important to remember those. Do not walk, swim, or drive through floodwaters. As I said, turn around, don't drown. Stay off of bridges over fast-moving water. Fast-moving water can wash bridges away without warning. Stay inside your car if you is trapped in rapidly moving water. Get on the roof. and if it is rising inside the car. Get to the highest level if trapped in a building. Only get on the roof if necessary, and once there, signal for help. Do not climb into a closed attic and avoid getting trapped by rising floodwater. Staying safe after a flood. Pay attention to the authorities for information and instructions. Return home only when authorities say it is safe. Avoid driving except in emergencies. Wear heavy work gloves, protective clothing, boots, and cleanup gear. Use appropriate face coverings and masks with cleaning mold or other debris. Sometimes the churches, I know specifically my church, will make buckets. People with asthma or other lung conditions or other immune suppression should not enter the buildings with indoor water leaks or mold growth that can be seen or smelled. Children should not take part in disaster cleanup work. Be aware that snakes and other animals may be in your house. Be aware of risk of electrocution. Do not touch electrical equipment if it is wet and you are standing in water. Turn off the electricity to prevent shock if it is safe to do so. Avoid wading in floodwater, which can be contaminated with dangerous debris. Underground and down power lines can also be electrically charged in the water. Use a generator or other gasoline-powered machinery only outdoors and away from the windows. Here are some resources. There's a flood information sheet from Ready. 6 things there's a video, 6 things you should know before a disaster. When a cloud forms, how to prepare for a flood, information to the American Red Cross, some flood information, where I got this material from, and Ready PA about knowing the flooding threat.